Alan Shearer slams Chelsea for being very disrespectful to Raheem Sterling after his sudden banishment and issues a warning to players about joining the club. Alan Shearer believes Chelsea have taken the wrong approach with Sterling. Sterling is training with outcasts and Chelsea are courting possible bidders. Alan Shearer has lambasted Chelsea for their very disrespectful treatment of Raheem Sterling in the wake of them suddenly freezing him out. Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca told Sterling just 2 days before the season began that he should weigh up his options for a move. On Sunday he was left to fester in the reserves as Chelsea fell to a 2-0 defeat by Manchester City, and he has been training with a group of 13 outcasts away from the first team. Shearer sees it as a cautionary tale for future arrivals at Stamford Bridge. "I'm not a big fan of what's happened to Raheem Sterling. I think it's very disrespectful," he told Betfair. "He may not have had a great season last season, which is fine, but there's still a way to treat people and understand players' needs. There's a way to sell players. It's just bizarre what's going on at Chelsea. You see the Conor Gallagher situation when he left on the plane to go to Atletico on the proviso someone else was coming over. They tried to sign the Samu Omorodian, but then that deal was off, and Gallagher then had to come back to Chelsea. Suddenly, they don't want a centre-forward. And they think, okay, we'll go back and see if we can do a deal with Joao Felix, and Gallagher had to hang around until that deal was done before he could head back to Atletico. In the meantime, Chelsea tell Raheem Sterling that he's no longer wanted and he has to find himself a football club, which is fine. That's the way it goes in football sometimes. A coach comes in and doesn't fancy you. That happens. But telling someone 2 days before the season starts they are not going to be involved, and giving someone just over a week to find a football club, it's very, very disrespectful. It's not the right way to treat a professional. That's the way it is at Chelsea now though. The players must accept that, and the coach must accept that, because that's what he's taken on. Anyone that goes into that football club knows how it's being run. It's not very nice at all, but that's the way it is. You've just got to try and accept it because you know going into it, that is what you are facing. Mail Sport exclusively revealed via a statement from Sterling's camp on Sunday that he is seeking clarities over his future. Maresca added that clarity on Wednesday in a stern press conference, insisting that Sterling should leave if he wants game time. They, Sterling and Chilwell, are training apart. "We have a big squad and it is impossible to give them all minutes," he said. "If they are looking for minutes, then it is better if they leave. If they do not leave, then they have a contract here and they are Chelsea players." Mail Sport has reported that Crystal Palace and Aston Villa are among the possible exit routes for the 29-year-old, who has 82 England caps. Juventus have also inquired. Sources have not yet revealed Chelsea's valuation for Sterling, who cost £50 million when signed in 2022 and is contracted until 2027 on a deal believed to be worth around £325. 000 per week. Maresca has been accused of being callous, but he countered, "Brutal? I don't think so. I try to be honest. I can repeat again if it's not clear. I spoke with Raheem before the Manchester City game. I said he is going to struggle to get minutes with us. With Chile, I said he is a lovely guy, but he is going to struggle because of his position. If you define this as brutal, it is up to you to decide. For me, it's not brutal, it's just honest. I'm not saying Raheem is not a good player, but I prefer different kinds of wingers. This is the reason why Sterling is contracted until 2027 and quizzed on these long deals posing him problems. Maresca said, "This is not my problem. I am here to make decisions and decide what the best is for the team. I am not here to talk about how many years contract. It's not my job. If it's a 6-year contract or a 20-year contract, I don't care. I'm just here to make the right decisions for the team. About the contract situation, it's not my job. You like to say we have 42 or 43 players. Today's session is with 20 players. Yesterday's session was with 21. But the other 15 or 20, they are training apart. Chelsea players, yes, 42 or 43, sure, but they are not working with me every day. I don't see them, so it's not a mess like it looks from outside. Absolutely not. A £270 million unwanted 5A-side team, Carlo Cudicini managing 13 misfits, some players banished and some still in the mix. How Chelsea manage the bomb squad of Raheem Sterling and company. Chelsea's bomb squad are not permitted to train with the first team group. The likes of Raheem Sterling, Ben Chilwell and Romelu Lukaku are isolated. Anyone around West London in need of ringers for their 5A-side team this week? Asking for friends named Raheem, Ben, Romelu, Kepa and Trevo, Sterling, Chilwell, Lukaku, Arrizabalaga and Chalobah are among the Chelsea players who have been told they cannot train with the first team at Cobham because they are not in new boss Enzo Maresca's plans. The first four were signed for a combined £270 million. The fifth grew up in the academy. All are set to train separately until they negotiate an exit which ends their exile, like Armando Broja, who is close to securing a season-long loan to Ipswich. Sterling has not yet trained with the group, having been granted time to digest being told by Maresca that he can leave. The 29-year-old was at home in London on Wednesday when confirmation came that Pedro Neto, whose £54 million signing pushed him further down the pecking order, was taking his No. 7 shirt, commonly known as a bomb squad. Chelsea's number of excluded does not stop there. Mail Sport has learned as many as 13 must train in a separate group led by lone technical coach Carlo Cudicini. The other 8 are David Datro Fofana, Angelo, Lucas Bergstrom, David Washington, Tino Angerin, Alex Mottos, Harvey Vale and, until his transfer is finalised, Broja. It is a mixture of young and old, inexperienced and experienced, some for sale and others available on loan. Despite a claim from Rio Ferdinand that they discovered their fate by email, it is believed all were afforded face-to-face conversations. Maresca insistent that some modicum of respect is shown. That included his sit-down with Sterling. Mail Sport was at Cobham on Wednesday to watch Cole Palmer and co train. There were 24 players, 20 outfielders and 4 goalkeepers in Robert Sanchez, George Petrovic, Philip Jorgensen and Marcus Bettinelli, as Maresca led them ahead of facing Swiss side Servette in a Europa Conference League playoff first leg at Stamford Bridge on Thursday night. They were surrounded by towering trees and high hedges, which provide privacy from prying eyes, meaning their castaway colleagues will not be able to look on in envy even if they wanted to. However, it would be wrong to think the bomb squad are completely divorced from everyone at Cobham. Mail Sport knows of at least one member who was mingling in the first team building on Wednesday, as there is not a total banishment from all areas. Yet they are set their own schedule, which differs to those whose programs are shaped around forthcoming fixtures. Wednesday's first team session started at 3 p.m. ahead of Thursday night's 8 p.m. kickoff, for example, and there was no sign of activity elsewhere. There is also no singular pitch assigned to the bomb squad, as they can take up whichever one is not being used by Chelsea's academy sides or the women's team. They have access to the indoor facilities of the development squad, who are housed in a detached building at Cobham. It is state-of-the-art, but still not where any senior wants to be. For the homegrown Chalobah, it has been a particularly hurtful experience, the 25-year-old having hoped he was in for a breakthrough season until not being taken to the USA last month. Some supporters feel it is a mistake to try to force the sale of their graduate, much like that of Conor Gallagher to Atletico Madrid. Chalobah is available for £25 million, with Crystal Palace and Aston Villa among those keen. Players' Union the PFA take a dim view of it all, particularly in cases where a player is isolated from his peers, and previously failed to get the Premier League to update their code of conduct, but Maresca has a skin thick enough to deal with accusations of callousness. He feels he could not give a viable training session involving everyone, a group of 24 being much more manageable. All this is nothing new, of course. It is nearly 30 years since Gavin Peacock was banished at Chelsea in 1996 when Ruud Gullit was in charge. Maresca insisted on Wednesday he is not being brutal but honest, but the truth can hurt.